decided that we start the show with warm regards and showing of love to Arsenal fans. And so, well, may his, great love to Arsenal fans. We wish them the very best. And also, warm regards to Catholics observing Holy Thursday. And I wish everyone the very best. Well, let's get into the conversation proper. On today's show, we will be focusing on a few issues. The 2027 elections, of course, on our table this morning. Coalition gains steam as Atiku, El-Rufai declare war on APC government. Will Peter Obi join the force? We'll wait to see. That and also plateau killings. Peter Obi, Northern Monarchs query president's absence amid tensions. And also we'll be going to Finland, looking at the issue of Simon Ekpa. Well, Simon Ekpa hires new lawyer ahead of explosive trial in Finland. Battles terrorism charges and unrest in Nigeria. Well, these are the conversations on our table this morning.
Good morning, and thanks for joining us. My name is I am Chukuma Okoro, by the way, and those are the major topics of discussion for today. We also have other interesting trending stories. But before we proceed, kindly click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel on Voice of the People TV. And on other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. You can also be a part of this conversation by calling in or sending WhatsApp messages to the number showing on your screen. Now, the number is 0907-473-2605. Now, talking about other trending stories, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu inaugurated a high-level committee for Nigeria's upcoming national population and housing census, setting a 3-week deadline for an interim report. While the census, crucial for national development, will focus on accurate planning for sectors like healthcare, education, and security, while Tinubu emphasized the importance of technology in the process, including biometrics and digitalization, to ensure credible results. The committee, chaired by Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Atiku, will explore funding strategies from both domestic and international sources to carry out the census. Well, recall that the last census in Nigeria was conducted in 2006. And even at that, the 2006 census was also disputed, just like every other census. I think it was disputed, but finally it was accepted. That is the record that we are working with. The first census was conducted sometime in 1891 and all of that. But since Nigeria became independent, the one of 1963 was contested, and the contestation was around the north and the south. And when they finished the census, clearly Lagos was more populated than census. And when they rejected it and went back, it was conducted after like 2 weeks or so. The new figure showed that Lagos was that Kano was more in population than Lagos. And people were like, how did it happen just in 2 weeks? Oh, well, the issue of it is this. Nigerian census has been very, very politicized. Politicized in the sense that because of the north-south divide, the north claims that it has more numbers, despite being an arid region. And in geography, people are wondering how could, a sparsely populated area be more populated than the densely populated tropical south? It's an issue in contention, and up until this moment, it's not been resolved. In 2006, the same census that we rely on now, Lagos conducted its own census alongside that of the National Population Commission. And we had different figures because from what I gathered, when MPC people step out of one building, the Lagos Population Commission would step in. So it was back to back. So why the discrepancy? These are the questions that surround the census in Nigeria. Away from that, the major issue is Nigerians are asking, how do you conduct a census in a place that is already covered, enveloped by insecurity? Are you going to conduct a census in Benue State to count who? In Sokoto and Zamfara State to count who? In Borno State to count who? In Ehamuf, where 19 communities have been displaced by who? By terrorists, by headsmen. So who are you going to count there? So Nigerians clearly think that this is misplaced priority. They are asking the president, first of all, what you need to do is bring back peace to this country so that Nigerians can live as decent people in their own homeland. And after that, you can now start talking about census. Away from that, the president inaugurated a committee made up of 8 people headed by Atiku Bagudu. I'm sure, so people will be surprised. Why are you bringing this angle into it? 8 people, out of those 8 people, 2 from the northwest, north central, and the rest is from the southwest. What does that tell you? Talk about nepotism and issues surrounding the president trying to westernize or Yorubanize this government. It's a lot, and I don't know, Moses?
Well, it's a lot, really, indeed. And no matter what anybody says, the president just seems to do what he wants to do, regardless of the outcry of Nigerians. Oh, well, talking about the census, I would rather just focus on the census right now. Talking about the census, yes, it's not the right time, like Nigerians have said. There is insecurity in most parts of the country. And insecurity should be dealt with first of all. We seem to be misplacing our priorities here. But yes, monies have been set aside. And with those monies being set aside, one wonders what becomes of, well, will more funds be allocated to the census? I think so. But looking up to, Chukuma did say something about insecurity, places, people being displaced, local government areas taking over, communities taking over, that reality. And unfortunately, we are not addressing it. And, you know, yesterday, I was going through a few reports of deaths and communities being overrun by these individual bandits or unknown gunmen or killer headers or killer hunters. I don't know which one to call them. But they have overrun communities. Now, what happens if nothing is done and more communities are overrun? What happens in 2027? Will elections be held in those local government areas? Well, these are questions that our leaders should address, so everyone will get, you know, a proper representation. Well, census, the committee has been set up. Will it be done in 2025 or 2026? But anyway, we wait to see. Now, going over to another issue that is affecting Nigerians right now, EFCC, that's the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, have assured Nigerians affected by the collapse of CBEX, a Ponzi crypto trading platform, that efforts are underway to recover their funds. Now, EFCC spokesman Dele Oyewale stated that the commission is collaborating with Interpol and other global agencies to apprehend the scheme's operators and secure refunds for investors. Now, though recovery may take time, he emphasized that the EFCC is committed to ensuring justice and will not allow the perpetrators go unpunished. Well, that's not all in that story. Investigations reveal that CBEX was falsely presented as a Canadian registered company and may have exploited the acronym CBEX, which is China Beijing Equity Exchange, to appear legitimate. Now, the platform's crash has sparked outrage, including the looting of its Ibadan office. In response, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, have reiterated that any unregistered platform is illegal, and they've also warned Nigerians to be cautious with their investments. Well, the truth of the matter is, I think we are largely a greedy people. That's the naked truth. We are largely greedy people wanting to make quick money. But you know, if the people feel this is one way that they can make money, you know, put in 100,000, get 300,000, you know, that way they feel they can get their own share of a certain largesse. But when you talk about investment, that's not the way things are done. But unfortunately, people see these things as an avenue to enrich themselves. But then again, we have politicians who are making quick money by absolutely not doing anything, inflating figures, taking monies that have been set aside for one project and cornering it, and people see that nothing is being done. A few of them still have boldness. After taking billions of naira, they still have, you know, the boldness to walk around with their shoulders held high, and EFCC has not recovered all those funds. Those are Nigerian, those are monies that belong to the people. recover those funds as well, because we need those monies. Yes, if the EFCC, working with Interpol, can trace the perpetrators of this particular scheme and get monies back to Nigerians may not get all the monies that they invested, but if something can come back to the people, that would be job well done. We thumbs up to the EFCC if they go ahead and do what they have assured Nigerians that they will do.
Oh, well, Nigeria, Moses, I'm not giving EFCC any thumbs up, because looks like they don't understand what is actually going on, what is playing out. And it's a promise. And when they said that, look, it might take time. If it takes time, within some weeks, Nigerians will just forget it and go past it. Look at the reason why I said that I'm not giving them thumbs up. Moses, this wasn't an investment. You know why I said it wasn't an investment? If you put money into NNPs, if you put money into Nigerian National Liquefied Company, NLNG, the company is working, doing business with your money. They'll sell gas, they'll make profit, they'll pay you back. This is money that 3 people dumped to pay 1 person. Other 3 more people dumped to pay another person. So actually, what happened was that there was more like a crash. More people have received no money to pay people again. That is what caused it. So it's not an investment. So when EFCC comes out to say that, which money are you going to recover?
But sometimes the story being sold is that when you put your money in, your monies are used to invest in something, and the returns is what they give you back.
But it is not true.
But that's the story being told.
Okay, that is the story being told. It is not true. So what I expect EFCC to do is to carry a campaign and say, look, with NOA, this is, you have to stop. And I like the fact that you talked about greed. Unfortunately for us, it's a dangerous combination of greed and ignorance. Because a lot of people don't even understand how these things work. The only thing they understand is when you drop 30,000, after 3 weeks you get 90,000. Who does that? Which business? Even if it is drug business, does it pay like that? It doesn't. So it's a combo of greed and ignorance. So what I expect EFCC to do in collaboration with National Orientation Agency is to say, look, educate Nigerians. These things don't work like this. If you want to invest, go to the capital market. Buy shares of companies, even if it is trickles, 1 naira, 2 naira, over time it is going to grow than this flash in the pan kind of success. It doesn't work. It doesn't help anybody. So EFCC, tell Nigerians the truth. I understand. I didn't invest, but if I know anybody that invested, I'll just tell the person, sorry, go back and make money. Sorry, that one is gone, and it's gone.
Unfortunately. Oh, well, another story, Dangote Refinery. All right, well, okay. Well, Dangote Petroleum Refinery, in partnership with companies like MRS and AP and others, decided to reduce the petrol prices across Nigeria. In Lagos, petrol will now cost 890 naira per litre, down from 920 naira. And other regions, including the southwest, southeast, south-south, and the northeast, will see prices ranging from 900 naira to 920 naira per litre. Now, this reduction follows a price cut in the refinery's gantry price from 865 naira to 835 naira. The refinery has been consistently lowering prices for petrol, diesel, and LPG, aiming to provide relief to consumers and stimulate economic growth, especially during the Easter season. I mean, they did this during Christmas as well. And yes, it's right after the naira for crude deal collapsed, we saw prices go up again. Now, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that some filling stations will be selling fuel cheaper. And I think the south, where most of it comes from, will have to buy for, I think, 900 or 920 naira, about that amount. Well, I think more should be done in that regard. But it's really concerning that, whether we like it or not, now, all of this has been put on the lap of one man. So this one man basically determines the price of fuel now. I mean, NNPC or NNPCL, whatever they do, imports or whatever they do, don't seem to have a control over the price. We hear that market forces will determine. Well, Dangote seems to be the market force that is determining the price of fuel. If you give crude to him, he sells to you in Naira and he decides to bring it down. If you don't give crude to him, he decides to sell in dollars and the price of everything goes up and Nigerians will suffer for it, quite unfortunately. And those at NNPC should, well, there's a new board now, a new team at NNPC, but still, I think those that were there before should cover their faces in shame, and those that are there now should, do something to save their own face, because this should not continue. We hear other refineries are coming upstream, BOA and the rest of them. The earlier they did, the better for us. Well, that's
yes,
all.
mostly the earlier they did, the better for us. Before I have my take on the NNPC, on the Dangote refinery drop in price, Moses, I'd like for us to go back to the CBEX issue because we have a guest from Port Harcourt, Prince Nix in Okwara, who wants to chime in on the CBEX issue with what EFCC is promising Nigerians. Good morning to you, Prince Nix, and thanks for coming to VOP this morning.
Good morning. I can see you're looking bright this morning. How are you?
I'm very well, and you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. So how is Port Harcourt? What's going on there?
There is nothing much. The government is running, and there seems to be a peaceful atmosphere with pockets of agitations some places.
Okay.
Apart from that, the government
Everything is going on smoothly.
Okay.
Right,
now on the CBEX, let's have your take.
Okay. Thank you very much. On the CBEX issue, I think that is like a testing period of the new legislation of the federal government of Nigeria, what we call the ESA legislation of 2024, that was recently passed. You see, when some of us try to give kudos to these present administrations and the foundations they are laying on certain issues by being proactive, people tend to just be criticizing all the time. But when you look at it, like this one that happened shows example of proactive stance of this present administration. The ESA, I want to give that particular kudos to the president and especially the capital markets committee, Senate Committee on Capital Market, led by distinguished associates. Now, so you would have heard about the ESA law that has to do with digital access management and all that with the SEC. So it is very easy for the ESA arrest the culprits. Are you with me?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yes, arrest the culprits, because when you look at the law, there is a collaboration of investigation with EFCC and the SEC, which is another game changer. Also, it is the definition and boundaries to prosecute Ponzi operators and the rest of it all. The fraudulent schemes to exploit regulatory loopholes, and which has been covered by that particular ESA law. So I want to counter what my friend was saying, that there is nothing EFCC can do in recovery. This particular law also empowers them to trace the assets of those who are operators, to trace the assets of the operators, so they can also get those assets and refund the people who are victims of this Ponzi scheme. There are a lot of things like this in the past which have gone unchallenged, which has gone without people, but I think there are bad days ahead for all the Ponzi schemes and the fraudulent elements in our society. And we can't but give praises to this present administration.
All right, then, thank you very much. So let's wait until we start seeing the recoveries. We don't know how long it will be. They've said it will take time. So when it starts coming, we'll give praises then. Oh, well.
Okay, very well then. Thanks very much, Prince Nix in Okwara. Now, back to the NNPCL. One-off prices are coming down. We have one man who happens to be the market force. No, not even market force. Market force is one-man riot squad, like we used to say. One-man riot squad. So we have one man who now constitutes market forces in Nigeria. Anytime the NNPCL tries to do something, the man will, anytime NNPC tries to flex, the man will do a bigger flex and all of that. 890 or whatever, it is still way too high for the average Nigerian. We need fuel to come back to, like Moses expects, 150 naira, so that when he drives into the filling station, with 10,000 naira, he can fill his tank. Not just Moses, myself, so many, every Nigerian. In fact, some people want it cheaper than that, because this is God-given to us. I don't want to get into the issue of subsidy and all of that, but the fact remains that at 890, we are still dealing with a lot. How is it going to impact on inflation? Is it going to help inflation come down? It certainly will not. I understand that liberal economists will be thumping their chests, we told you it's going to happen. If we get more competitors, it might just happen. But what are those competitors? We heard like 2 years ago that South Koreans are coming. Where are they? I've heard about BOA, I've heard about Ibeto for how many months now, going to more than 1 year and all of that. Or what about the Watersmith in Edo? Are they refining? We are yet to see all of those things. So the people that define the price of fear now is juggles between NNPCL and Dangote Refinery. If you ask me, it's still a monopoly, more like an oligopoly, because they also have arrangements between one arm and the other and all of that. So it doesn't serve our interest, if you ask me.
Oh, yes. Well, anyway, all of that conversation we'll keep our eyes on. If anything should change, we definitely will let you know. But in the meantime, let's look at stories that made it to the cover pages. And Prince Nixon will join us again where we get into the major conversation. But in the meantime, of course, let's look at headlines from the dailies. Speaking about the fuel, the Punch has its banner headline, 800 naira per litre. Petrol in sight as oil prices fall. The writer to that story, PMS drops again as Dangote cuts ex-depot rate to 835 naira per litre. Crude now $65 per barrel from $75 per barrel. All right. And other headlines, the window headlines from the Punch. EFCC SEC moved to dismantle Ponzi schemes. Tinubu's France retreat sparks backlash amid rising insecurity. Plateau killings. Police arrest key suspects. Governor bans night grazing. Northern governors in joint push against resurgent attacks. And then, emergency rule. Rivers women protest again. Reps panel summons Obi'S. 2027 coalition to unseat Tinubu gaining ground, says Atiku. Hundreds of Boko Haram suspects arrested in Lagos. That's coming from the CJTF. And Nigeria cuts power supply to Niger Republic. I think those of us in Lagos should be concerned about these hundreds of Boko Haram suspects arrested in Lagos. But anyway, we'll get into all of that story during a newspaper review at 9.
Okay, now up next is Nigeria News Direct with the window headlines. Again, Dangote Refinery reduces petrol ex-depot price to 835 naira per litre. REA Lagos signed MOU for 8 megawatts, Nigeria's first floating solar PV plant. NIDCOM demands release of 6 Nigerian tourists held captive in Cape Verde. Access Holdings reports 867.019 billion naira profit before tax for financial year 2024. Now, that's huge, 867.019 billion naira profit before tax. Oh well, alleged defamation. Yahaya Bello petitions IGP, demands investigation, prosecution of Senator Natasha. And now the big story, 2027, opposition mega talks stall as coalition accuses PDP of fielding weak candidates. PDP governors face accusations of sabotage. Wike shielding PDP from producing presidential challenger. That's coming from the coalition, and that's all from Nigerian News Direct newspaper.
And The Guardian has these headlines, window headlines. Suspend France trip to address insecurity. Obi tells Tinubu. I'm sure, anyway. FG, World Bank in fresh $17 billion poverty reduction deal. Dangote crashes petrol price by 30 naira per litre. Refines 3.5 billion litres in 7 months. And then about the bold headline here. National headcount. Insecurity. Economic concerns trail Tinubu's push for fresh census. And then there's a breakdown of it there. We have a population at last counts 2006, 140 billion. Current estimated population 236.52 million. And more persons since 2006, 96.5 million. Per capita income, $835 estimate. And population growth rate, 2.52%. Life expectancy, 54.6. GDP growth rate, 3.4%. Literacy rate, 62%. Oh well. Some of the headlines here. Fresh killings in Benue community, claim 10. With all these killings, I think our population is largely depleted. REA, Lagos to replace over 4 million generators with rooftop solar. Interesting. Lukman alleges PDP governors aiding Tinubu as Atiku intensifies coalition agenda. And we also have reps summon sole administrator as Rivers women demand end to emergency rule. FG launches plan, approves 15 billion naira to curb flood disasters. And don't lose faith in democracy. INEC chairman tells African youths.
Okay, now let's quickly run through the Daily Trust with the window headlines. CPC Group affirms loyalty to APC, Tinubu amid defection speculations. Filling stations yet to adjust as Dangote reduces petrol price again. EFCC launches manhunt for CBEX promoters, vows to recover investors' money. Now the big story. FG makes peace move to Niger Republic. Toga meets with country's delegation in Niamey. And another bold headline, villagers flee as gunmen attack Benue communities again. And the bottom strip, Boko Haram kills 6 in attacks on Adamawa communities. 2027, will ride any vehicle that guarantees good governance. Atiku, 36 cows killed, 42 poisoned in Plateau as governor bans night grazing. That's all from the Daily Trust newspaper.
And now to the conversation we go. 2027 elections. Coalition gains steam as Atiku El-Rufai declare war on APC government. And the big question on the lips of some pundits, will Peter Obi join the force? Let's x-ray this when we come back from this break. Join us again.
Here's on VOP TV as we discuss key areas in the maritime sector, from aquaculture, maritime transportation, maritime labor regulation, oil and gas exploration, ferry and passenger insurance, marine pollution and prevention, port operations, and lots more.
Join me on Sundays every 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Voice of the People TV.
Maritime Frontiers, exploring Nigeria's blue economy.
From the views on the street,
we go to bed empty hunger,
to the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's lawn.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV, youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space, exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, dissecting the news without fear or favor, through factual and accurate stories and contents.
Corruption kills 3 things and makes a society.
Representing the interests of the people. and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people. The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as it is hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on VOP TV. Entertainment like never before. Is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being of an individual. It's the fundamental right of everyone to enjoy the highest attainable standard.
Well, thanks for joining us again. Now let's get into the conversation proper now. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has reaffirmed his commitment to building a broad opposition coalition aimed at unseating President Bola Tinubu in the 2027 elections. Despite a lack of support from PDP governors, Atiku has emphasized inclusivity and urgency in creating a united political front across party lines, declaring openness to any platform that promotes good governance. He stressed that the coalition effort, which includes figures from APC, PDP, Labour Party, and SDP, is a citizen-driven initiative focused on national rescue and urged Nigerian youth to resist short-term inducements and engage in grassroots mobilization. Meanwhile, former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, who recently defected from APC to the SDP, has criticized Tinubu's administration for incompetence, nepotism, and ethnic bias. He accused the government of worsening insecurity, economic hardship, and tribal favoritism, asserting that the ruling party had strayed from the founding ideals of justice and national unity. Where El-Rufai goes on, he describes his move to the SDP as a step toward rescuing Nigerians from misgovernance, reaffirming his commitment to coalition efforts for meaningful political change. Well, 2027 election is around the corner, and apparently some politicians are already gearing up to make a lot of changes. But the question is, will Peter Obi join this fray? Well, we have with us in the studio Dele Fanimo, who is a seasoned reporter and public affairs commentator, VOP analyst. Good to have you join the conversation.
Good morning, Moses. Good morning, Chuku. Good morning.
And looking like they're twinning in terms of attire, we have Dr. Gani Oluwashola, who is managing partner KJB Professional Services. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Big time.
This one is an apple stand, so we didn't plan.
It's an happenstance, I know. I know. And virtually from Port Harcourt, we have Prince Nixon Okwara, who is a public affairs analyst, managing director, Onyx Group National Chairman, Igbo Stakeholders, and then a member of the defunct 2023 APC Presidential Campaign Council. Well, you heard his voice earlier when we talked about the CX issue. Well, good to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now let's get into it. Let me start off with you, Prince Nixon. Now, Tinubu is being accused, the president is being accused of not doing anything about insecurity. And, you know, those that are throwing this accusation around are those that have been in government for a long time. We have El-Rufai, we have Atiku Abubakar, you know. Some of these accusations, one would say, did not really come up between 2015 and 2023 when a northerner was in office, and now we have all of these accusations coming up. The question is, do you perceive that all of this might be to discredit what the president is doing in terms of insecurity? And some Nigerians have also asked the question, is the president doing enough to combat insecurity? Now, without being biased now, Nigerians are asking, is he doing enough? In the past 1 week, over 100 people have been killed in places like Benue and Plateau State. Over 100 human beings, over 100 Nigerians have been killed. And the president is still working from France. How do you react to this?
As a matter of fact, what Atiku, former vice president, and El-Rufai is doing is not new to anyone. When you look at the character of the people involved, they've always played the role of it's either me or we rock the boat. When you look at such antecedents, you just have to take them serious at your own peril. Um, you have said it all. There is no two ways about it than to fact that a Southerner is there, and you can see a lot of people coming up from the north now and becoming so vocal. When you check the difference, with sympathy to those who are victims of terrorism or those who have died. But when you look at the number of people killed under President Buhari between 2014 and 2023, and to be even in 1 year of his administration alone, and to be compared what is happening today, you will be surprised over why these people have a kind of a selective amnesia, or were they maintaining table manners while these killings happen under the past administration. So you just find out that there are only two things there: self-interest, not national interest. And it is very dangerous and bad for people to play politics with Nigerians' lives and security. If you look at Atiku Abubakar, his character and his personality from the days of PDP, he was the person that destroyed PDP in 2014 because he was not the candidate and Jonathan did not give him the ticket. You also look at someone like El-Rufai. Under Obasanjo, he had issues with him. He had issues with Atiku. Eventually, under privatization, which he supervised, he started criticizing President Yaradua when he was not appointed, and he fought Yaradua, one of the best presidents we had. He came to President Jonathan, and at the same time, the same thing happened. Those cycle of self-interest opposition from these people are something that Nigerians should watch it. Because if you see nothing good in anyone, then why do we want to believe that you're coming to give us something good? So the unfortunate thing that is happening there is that when you look at the reality and the indices there, you find out that terrorism and all this banditry has relatively reduced.
Exactly the point. Exactly the point. Thanks very much, President Nixon. Let me stay with you. I want us to remove the messengers now. Atiku Abubakar and Nasir El-Rufai. I want us to look at the message. Let's assume that it is Prince Nixon that is giving this message. So my question is, do you in all honesty think that Nigeria as a country is moving forward or backwards? You said that insecurity has been reduced drastically. Drastically? In less than 2 weeks, 100 people have been slaughtered in cold blood in parts of Benue Plateau. 2 weeks ago, 19 communities in a Hiamufu community of Enugu State were chased away from their homeland. In Ondo State, in the past 1 month, more than 56 farmers have been killed, to the point that people had to go block the government house and ask the governor to take action. Then before yesterday, the president called on the Plateau State governor to take decisive political action. I don't want to talk about what the Shehu of Borno said. I don't want to talk about what Zulum said. These things, are they facts and figures, or are they made up? Prince Nixon, is Nigeria moving forward or is it going backwards?
As a matter of fact, faster than we can ever imagine within this period. When you look at the reports by SBM Intelligence from 2015 to 2022, which has it that about 63,000 Nigerians were slaughtered These people didn't, no matter the messenger or who, all the people who are voicing out today said nothing within this period. Then when you check that President Tinubu have done barely about 2 years, and you look at the records, in Abuja, we forgot that just few months before he took over, people in Abuja, I was personally a victim of the insecurity in Abuja before the president took over. Today in Abuja, you can barely hear anywhere you have insecurity or wherever in the whole streets of Abuja. And gradually, the entire southern Kaduna that we are talking about today, many of them are returning home. And this was under the watch of the person like El-Rufai. The whole Christians, and the problem that this government is suffering with the international image today under the persecution of Christians in Nigeria is mostly what's happened in the southern Kaduna area. And this thing happened under the same watch of this same man, who rather went to pay terrorists billions.
I'm sorry, permit me
more.
to butt in at this moment. You have gone back to the messenger. I want us to look at the message itself. What is going on in parts of Sokoto and Zamfara state? What is going on in Borno state? What is going on in Adamawa state? There is I'm sorry, Prince. Let me land with my question. Now, 63,000 people in 8 years, according to the SBM report that you quoted. Are you aware that more than 30% of that figure, we have witnessed that happen in less than 2 years of that administration? Just 2 years, and we are looking at 8 years. It seems to be enveloped by insecurity. At a point, it was restricted to the north, but now it is coming down south. The other day, the Oyo State governor raised alarm. The Southwest governors came together and raised alarm and said, look, we have infiltration. People that were bandits that were dislocated in the northwest are migrating and relocating to the southwest. And we see it happen in Ondo State. Look at what happened in Edo State the other day. Just the day before yesterday, hunters, other set of hunters were apprehended in parts of Edo State with assault rifles. In all of this, Prince Nixon, how forward are we moving as a people?
As a matter of fact, let's be sincere. We may not be where we are supposed to be by now, but you must agree with me that we are not where we used to be before this administration came.
Don't you think we are worse off than we used to be?
No, we are not worse off. Let us look at it from this perspective. Even when you look at the records, looking at the records, you find out that there is serious achievements and success story under insecurity. Just that people keep politicizing it, people keep playing politics with their people's lives. Otherwise, when you look at the insecurity, the historical facts about insecurity in Nigeria and what we have currently, you find out that this administration have tamed insecurity to the barest minimum. Let us also look at those areas you are talking about. In those days, these people, there were nobody prosecuted, nobody was arrested, nobody was even nothing was virtually done. But today, we see these bandits and the government institutions also fighting against them. But then they were having a field day in Nigeria, being celebrated, coming out in the TV stations. Even some of you that are journalists interviewed some of these terrorists openly, and they were claiming that if this does not happen, there will be no peace in Nigeria. None of them were arrested. None of them. But none of those things can happen today under President Tinubu. So the problem we have is that when our wound heals or is healing, we forget the pains, we forget the experience. Let us not throw away the child with the bathwater. We must be able to acknowledge the successes of this administration. And the most important thing he is doing, he's not looking at it by this is not the military era, always a combative an approach of catching everybody and throwing inside the prison. No, there are some institutional framework that this administration is creating, which will gradually stamp out this insecurity, which has to do with either the community policing. We're looking at other institutional framework.
All right, then. Thank you very much. Okay, well, let's bring it back to the studio now. Let's get our studio guests involved in the conversation. Dr. Ganiu, does it seem like politicians are once again using insecurity to sway Nigerians? Because we saw a lot of this prior to 2015 elections. From 2011 to 2015, we saw a lot of talk about insecurity, how the Jonathan administration wasn't doing enough to curb insecurity. And based on that, Nigerians sought change. Nigerians wanted change. But then how well would you say the change we sought, how well has it done well for us years down the line? Do you think politicians are using insecurity again?
Definitely. Politics is like a game of chance. It's also a game of who can project themselves very well, right? You look at the loopholes your other opponent has to be able to counteract it, to win the heart of the masses. It's just like you're doing a debate or speaking against, for, and against. So you look at the loopholes in your opponent to be able to tackle him so that you can win the audience applaud, right? When you look at before 2015, before General Muhammadu Buhari come into power, right? Those are the things he used as a platform. He kept hammering on it, and he said, I'm a general in the army. I knows how to tackle all this. And so people think that bringing him on board, it's going to reduce the level of insecurity in Nigeria, and it's going to make the country to be more conducive to live.
But did that help?
But it was even worse off.
Okay.
It was worse off because the killing was so massive.
If it was worse off then, do you think it has improved now since the Tinubu administration came into office? You think there's been significant improvement in insecurity around the nation?
You will see, I won't say significant, but you will discover that a lot of things have been piped low. During the time of Buhari, there's a lot of kidnapping. There's a lot of
lot of kidnapping right now.
But I think it's the power of social media, right? The power of social media. The way we hear the news then, I'm not citing the current president. The way we hear the news then, people abroad, it's as if once they step into Nigeria, you'll be kidnapped.
But
right?
Don't you think it's even worse now? Because on Airport Road, I mean, the gateway to the nation, I know a few people that have been kidnapped just by moving around at certain times of the day. They've been kidnapped. One of them has lost her sight. Isn't that bad? We've seen a lot of what we used to call one chance, activities. We've seen it spike in recent time. And we've seen ritual killings spike. All of these are part of insecurity. We've seen, just today, there's a story in the news that hundreds of Boko Haram insurgents have been arrested in Lagos. Isn't that scary?
And this is the most painful thing now. And we could say that it's either politically motivated or people they're making huge sum of money on this platform. I've had on news, right? I've also had discussion that when this guy gets to they are almost closing up with the Boko Haram, they'll receive a call from the top order and say, you can withdraw.
Okay.
Right? So indirectly, this is human being inhuman to ourselves. Right? So I think most of this is either being politically motivated or people are actually getting a lot of benefit from this. And we cannot...
If it's politically motivated, by your assertion, politically motivated by who? Those in office or those that want to get into office?
So the question we also...
Without mentioning names now.
Even without mentioning names, right? You see, most of this thing, look at what happened during the time Buhari lost its first election.
Yes.
He said it will make the country ungovernable.
Yes.
Right? Nobody arrested him. He spoke it. Right? Nobody arrested him for treason.
And then he said that, and then Tinubu with an APC supported him to get into office in 2015.
Definitely, this is the power of coalition. You understand? And this is what you see.
So then should we now exempt this administration from the insecurity that we are seeing in the
nation? No,
we
can't exempt them because they are into it. It is a flow from them. From one regime to another regime, it's a flow from them, and this is part of the... I won't be surprised because when he was coming to power, he said that he's going to work on the platform of his predecessor, so to make it more better. Right. So that is what he said, right? And if he's moving like this, he did not say anything different, right? Because we saw it and we bring him into power, right? So if we see track record of this, and we could see that he also gave the the people in charge of our military personnel a standing order, ensure this, ensure this, ensure this. But the question is that one of the things we have in Nigeria is that we have a lot of policy. We have a lot of ideas, but we have implementation challenges, monitoring problem, right? So, but when we now look at this, that what are the things what are the statistics, right? How do we curb this thing? And these are why some factions are saying that the president should be in the country at this point in time. It shouldn't be out of the country. Your roof cannot be leaking, and you're in another country checking what is happening over there. You must be able to resolve things around.
All right, let's bring the Fanimo into this conversation. Let me take off from where Dr. stopped. He said the president needs to come back and act on these things. I'm a bit curious because the president has always been here and these things have been happening. Does it really matter? His presence, does his presence matter? Now, Dele, I want us to look at the coalition because essentially that is the conversation. We have an Atiku Abubakar, we have an El-Rufai, we have a Rotimi Amechi who clearly says that, look, Tinubu is Nigeria's problem, you know. But these are people who at one time or the other were bedmates in the APC. We all know the story of El-Rufai, and people have asked, peradventure he made it to the cabinet, will he adopt this position that he clearly adopts now? So in all of this, do you think that, look, this gang up is altruistic to the extent that, because these are people who have been in government, APC, PDP, at different times. What level of trust should the Nigerian people have on these people? The new gang up now, because apparently Nigerians are clearly dissatisfied with the system now. But are we going to move from, more like from fire or from frying pan to fire? If we give our votes, if we trust these people with our future, with our security, with our economy, do you think it's going to make any difference?
My takeoff point is, I've said it several times here, that Winston Churchill said, we that are politicians, we don't trust ourselves. Why should the electorate trust us? Most of these people, when they come, they give a kind of impression that they are altruistic and they are fighting for the emancipation of the masses. But you find out that in the final analysis, you discover that inside of these people, they are looking for opportunities to further their nests. And I think Nigerians should be wise enough to discern what these people are up to. The problem of insecurity in this country, one of these bedfellows that are strange bedfellows was accused of bringing in foreign dissidents from the Sahel just to torment and run Jonathan out of government. And it was said that these people were promised certain amount of money. And as soon as they are able to run Jonathan out of government, they will be paid off and returned to their country. But unfortunately, as soon as they did what they did and Jonathan was out of the equation, they abandoned and neglected these people. And naturally, the first law of nature is self-preservation. And in the course of preserving themselves, they discovered that kidnapping for ransom is one of the ways of their survival within the country. And they escalated it. And in the process, those who wanted to exploit us without paying came into the mix. And when Toji was sent out of Niger, his own country, and he found a safe haven in Zamfara, and today the rest is history. So, how can we in Nigeria as Nigerians, want to trust this kind of elements to rescue us. Secondly, look at the antecedent of these people. They have traversed almost all the political parties in Nigeria in the last 25 or 6 years. And why are they moving from one point to the other? Is it for the benefit of Nigerians? And these are people that are still being bedeviled by allegations of corruption. Atiku superintended over BPE, and today, can we mention a particular government-owned company that have been transferred to private hands that are working? Is it the Gencos? Is it the Discos?
So, sorry, does any of them belong to Atiku?
No, what I'm saying is all them. What was the basis of selling those things is for, just hold on.
Okay.
Those people that bought these schools were politically exposed people that were using fronts. Let's be clear about this. And El-Rufai, that is now the savior of Nigerians today, was at the head of BPE.
No. Why I asked the question is that it looks like Atiku supervised BPE, sold government-owned enterprises, and they're apparently not doing well. So yes, Atiku should take the blame. And NNPC wasn't sold. Nigerian-owned enterprise, is it doing well?
Is it?
No, I'm just asking.
You see, the point is, let's not, I always say this, that when we talk about some of the malfeasance of these people, let's not derail by saying, okay, if this one is not working, then we didn't blame them for this one. No, I'm just saying, yes, that's what I'm saying. That we shouldn't say because this particular sector is not performing well, then we should gloss over the one that somebody superintended over. What I'm saying is, I'm just trying, in case we are likely to be seen as suffering from collective amnesia, it is also good we remind ourselves of some of these past deeds so that we will now begin to contextualize the point at which they are today.
I understand all that you are saying. My concern here is that these Gencos, the discos that are not working,
yes,
was it clearly because Atiku was the one that supervised it?
It was.
Or is it a Nigerian thing? Is it a systemic thing? Is it a systemic failure?
But if there is that track of systemic failure, if you are in government, your role is to ensure that such things don't continue.
Okay.
And in doing that, you do due diligence to ensure that those who are going to be active players in the new dispensation are clearly those you can trust with national assets.
All right, so going forward now, because we are coasting home now, you want to say something?
So, yeah, I just want to say something. As regard the coalition, you could see that this has been the order of the day. Remember when APC came on board, it was not APC. It was a coalition of 5 parties. We have the ACN then, that's Action Congress of Nigeria. We have the CPC, which is Congress for Progressive Change. We have the ANPP, which is All Nation People's Party. So we have the DPP, which is Democratic People's Party, and we have the part of Afghan that joined them, right? So and because they form a coalition, they were able to unseat the almighty PDP then. You know, PDP could not be unseated. So they were able to unseat them. Because then, Buhari, which is the head of the CPC, thought he can do it on his own. And that's why Tinubu come in and said that, oh, when he cried several, and I say, we will wipe away your tears. On a lighter note. So if this coalition, if they are going to make it work, because you could remember then, it will be void of self-centered, selfish interests. You know, then
it was at that time.
Yes, because you know, Tinubu wanted to be the vice president. He said, you can't do a Muslim ticket. He had to step down. Because if you insisted, then the party wouldn't have stand. Right? Okay. So the same thing is that if they're forming coalition, they must be able to step down their ego. Right?
Now the question now is, these individuals that are forming the coalition, should Nigerians expect anything different from them? These particular individuals now, the Amechi, Atiku, El-Rufai, and the rest of them that have chosen to come together, should Nigerians expect anything different from them?
It depends on whom they are making their leader, right? Take for instance now, if they showcase anybody aside the Labour Party stuff, they might not. But at that point in time,
aside the Peter Obi,
yes, at that point in time, they want somebody. One of the things that sold Buhari then was because of his integrity. People believe he can. Yeah, people believe that he can make a change and every other thing. So they sold him to us.
Do you think a Peter Obi? Because some Nigerians have said, look, Tinubu is making hard decisions. Some of the decisions that the northern elite will have no choice but to abide by. Ordinarily, the presidency would have been controlled by the northern elite. Do you think a Peter Obi will be able to make those tough decisions?
So definitely, at that point in time, then you can't decide on the kind of person he is now, right? But with the person, what he's trying to play, right, depending on what he can make that decision. For him to be able to make even the Tinubu we are talking about, making the decision, the question is that, is it for the general interest of Nigeria, right? So stepping on toe in the long run, does it have an economic impact on us, right? It might be reducing power on the north, transferring power to the south, right? But what we are going to look at it on the table of decision. What is the economic impact on Nigeria? What is the impact on the average populace, right? Can average populace walk to that owns a car? Can they joyfully drive their car? Can they go to the market and say we want to hit pounded yam and buy two tubers of yam? So the question is that what is the economic impact on the country, and also what is the face value is giving to Nigeria at the global space? Does it increase the value of our currency? As we speak now, our currency is almost hitting 1,700 to $1. So these are things we should look at, the economic impact, not the making decision to move. During the time of, I think, is it Obi'S also, they withdraw so much power from the north to the south, right? So when the northerners come in there, they regularize the whole thing. So the thing is just like, what is the impact? The most important thing is that the bottom line. Does it have an effect on our economy? Does it have an effect on our social-cultural environment? Does it project us well? Because as we speak, even Ghana here, that we send away and we call it Ghana must go, they say we need visa to enter their country. And so, which is not so good for us.
All right, and big questions floating in the wind, I must say. With answers, we'll probably continue to search for. Maybe Prince Nixon might provide a few of those answers. But anyway, let's get into another conversation now, but still on events around Nigeria, basically state of the nation. Political killings. Peter Obi, Northern Monarchs query president's absence amid tensions. Let's x-ray this when we come back from this break. Join us again.
All right, thanks for staying with us. And if you are just joining us, this is VOP this morning. Well, Peter Obi, former presidential candidate of the Labour Party, has urged President Bola Tinubu to cut short his trip to France and return to Nigeria to address the worsening insecurity plaguing the nation. Obi criticized the president's absence amid rising violence, citing the deaths of over 150 Nigerians in 2 weeks across states like Plateau and Zamfara. He emphasized that leadership should be present in times of crisis and called for urgent action to safeguard lives and restore governance. While echoing Obi's concerns, the Sultan of Sokoto and other northern traditional rulers expressed deep frustration over the growing insecurity, especially in the north. During a security-focused meeting in Maiduguri, the Sultan declared that traditional leaders are more troubled than politicians and called on the government to act decisively. He warned against ethnic profiling and emphasized the unity, while also highlighting the need for youth empowerment and agricultural development as solutions to regional instability. Oh, well, we still have in the studio here with us Mr. Dele Fanimo, Dr. Ganiyu Oluwashola, and Prince Nixon, who joins us virtually from Port Harcourt. Gentlemen, thanks for staying with us. Dele, let me start with you. Now, there's a question I asked Dr. Ganiyu. I would like for you to, okay, it was even you that I asked the question. I would like to ask you again because more like you didn't have a take on it. The president's presence, does it make a difference? He's always been here and these things have been happening. That is on one hand. On the other hand, I mean, the Sultan of Sokoto, northern leaders, they are asking the president to take decisive political action, you know, to push back insecurity. And I'll ask you, do you think that the North, the Sultan is a retired military officer. I think he retired as a, was it Colonel or Brigadier General?
Brigadier General.
Brigadier General in the Nigerian Army. So I expect that he understands these things perfectly. So
was in the intelligence corps.
Exactly. So if he was, and he understands this thing, and now he's the Sultan of Sokoto, and he's leading traditional rulers from the North to call on the president, while in the 8 years of Muhammad Buhari's administration, the more like nudged him, every of them was mute. Do they have the moral courage to ask this president to act decisively? Two questions in one.
One, the president is the #1 citizen.
Okay.
And the buck stops on his table. And so, at a time like this, he shouldn't have abdicated his responsibility as the executive president of Nigeria by staying away in France, except if we are told that he has issues with his health that is compelling enough for him to stay back. Because it's just like in our homes. There are certain things a father figure plays at home that the absence of a father figure may destabilize a lot of things. Even the presence of that father could deter the child from throwing tantrums or making issues out of nothing. For me, at a time like this, everybody wants to see the president. Everybody wants to see beyond his utterances, the press releases, and the press statements from the presidency. We want to see him in action. I would have expected that the president or the vice should have visited Plateau after the killing of 51 people. And when you look at the demography of these people, you will know that these are almost defenseless people. How much resistance can a 94-year-old put up in the face of threat to his life? How much resistance can a 70-year-old, 74-year-old, how much resistance can a 3-year-old or 8-year-old put up? And they were mowed down in cold blood. That particular incident was more than enough, not just enough, for the president to cut short his trip and come down to Nigeria.
I'm sorry, Dele. I don't want to be seen as pushing a particular narrative. My question, my concern is this. In all of these things that have happened, in the past 18 months or more that the president came into office, we've highlighted killings in parts of the Benue Plateau, in parts of Ondo State, the Southwest, all over the country. The president has always been around. So at this moment, will his presence make any difference?
It could make.
Okay.
You see, you can't be doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result.
Okay.
But what we are saying is,
probably that's why he went to France, so that he'll be able to see. He said he's going to France to help him review the policies of his administration away from Nigeria.
Is Nigeria a stadium that
no, that's
the
what
father
Bayo,
you are
that's
to
what
the,
Bayo
to the
Onanuga
pitch?
told
No,
us. Okay.
All right,
no, let's discountenance whatever Bayo Onanuga is saying.
Okay.
But the president should have been around. Let people see his countenance. Let people see his body language.
All right.
That he is now willing
to do
more than ever
okay.
to do something
All right,
and something
thank you very
drastic.
much. Thank you very much. Now let me.
And I would have loved to say something about these traditional rulers from the north.
Can you do that quickly, please?
Most of these northern elements that are giving us problems in this country, they reside in their domain. Can't the traditional rulers talk to them? This man was concerned about a week ago, Sheikh Sani. He called northern Fulani youth and said, look, I am a Fulani, but the kind of name we are bringing to ourselves, we are attracting to ourselves, is not something that I'm proud of. Talk to your people, talk to your friends, and let them realize that this profiling is not good for us. If these traditional rulers that are now putting the blame on the president had come to call them to order, northerners are amenable to listening to their leaders than the southerners who feels that everybody is equal.
All right, then, thank you very much. Now let's take this to Port Harcourt now, where we have Prince Nixon Okwara. Now, Prince Nixon, the question around the president being in the country, the president being away, x-raying his administration and the work done, Nigerians have reacted to that. A lot of Nigerians are concerned that Nigerians are being killed. Now, you said insecurity has reduced, according to you, but the figures right now is what matters. The figure is that in the past 1 week, over 100 people have been killed in Benue and Plateau states, where the governors have come to cry out that, look, communities are being taken over. In some other parts of the country as well, Nigeria is losing ground. We have neighboring countries, basically encroaching. Insecurity is taking land from Nigeria. And the president is still, now he did say it was going to be a 2-week visit. Shouldn't we have expected the president to come back rather than give orders that, look, give orders to certain governors to take decisive political action? What do you make of that? Some Nigerians think that is a weak way of governing. But what do you think?
I think otherwise. Thank you. I think otherwise. The president actually is not in France for leisure. He has told you severally that he is there for strategic partnership and meetings, which is what we call a walking.
Sorry to interrupt you. I really would hate to interrupt your flow. I would have loved you to just go on, but I don't want to miss this. Now, he's not in France for leisure, but are you privy to any particular meeting or any particular thing that he has done? Has he met with any body, business, organization? Because the media is not being shown any of these things. Or is he having these meetings in secret?
The president I know cannot go for leisure amidst the security situation we have in Nigeria. Let me give you one important information here, my brother. You see, why it is like we have an upsurge in insecurity in Nigeria is very simple. The coalition of the armed forces in Niger, Mali, and all the rest of them around the Sahel dealing with these criminal elements have made them to move towards Nigeria. And presently, with what is happening with ECOWAS, which the president is the head of the ECOWAS, there is a lot of issues that has to do with diplomacy and bilateral relationships with some of our neighboring countries and maybe international bodies. And insecurity has different approach than, first of all,
Prince Francis, I beg your pardon, Prince Nixon, yes. Do you perceive yourself as being honest in your analysis right now?
Of course, yes. You know what is happening in the Sahel there? And this is why this thing has increased again. They are being bombarded. And the president will need a coalition of forces to also terminate whatever that is going on there. It needs an international collaboration as well. So insecurity is not something that you can deal from just the comfort of your room. Okay. It's sad the way we approach issues.
All right, Prince Nixon, I like your position very well. Your position on this is very sound. Spot on. I like the fact that you said that the governments in the Sahel, talking about Niger, Mali, Chad, that have successfully pushed out these insurgents from their territories and pushed them to Nigeria. Isn't that an indictment on this present government that what other governments have done, they are unable to do that? Instead, they are able to absorb bandits and terrorists And the president, and the president, short of meeting with people within the sub-region, is in faraway France, holding strategic meetings with who?
As a matter of fact, you see, the president can give orders from anywhere. He can rule from anywhere. He has a lot of security.
Sorry, Nixon, do you now admit that you have indicted this present government?
I have not indicted.
But you said others successfully pushed out bandits and terrorists from their countries and pushed them to Nigeria, and we've been able to absorb them.
Can I say something here?
Go ahead, sir.
Mind you that we have a porous border. We have a porous border in the north. Which
another indictment on this government.
Can I say something? Only these presidents have attempted to do something and do something about it. For the years successive leadership of Nigeria, especially the immediate part, nothing much was achieved in terming this. And the president cannot wake up overnight and block all the borders. It's not possible. Meanwhile, there is a lot on the ECOWAS table that needs collaboration to achieve certain security within West Africa. You should know what happens within the Sahel and our neighboring countries, the forests where these people hide, and so many of those territories.
Well, we seem to have a network issue there that has cut off the conversation from Prince Nixon, the conversation that we've been having from Prince Nixon, who joins us from Port Harcourt. Well, to rectify that and continue the conversation in due time. But let's bring it back to the studio. Dr. Ganiu, now to you. With everything going on, what's your take? Let me just give you, a blank check now.
So, you see, in real terms, you will not see the president of France coming to Nigeria to come and take a cool off. You will not see the president of Ukraine coming to US or UK to come and take a cool off, right, or re-strategize. So, like saying in my dialect, the charity begins at home. Right? So we need to cool off in our country. And that is actually what brings us to where we are today. Our unnecessary, unusual appetite for foreign things, right? And that is what is also draining our forests, right? How can we, most luxury place we have in France, we have it in Nigeria. Talk about Hilton Hotel in Abuja. You can cool off there. We have a lot of them in Lagos here, right? You can cool off there. We have some of them in my state, in Oyo State. You can cool off. So, honestly, we can make our country. Have you ever seen the president of China coming off to cool off? You see, I will always I always dove my cap for China, right? You know, there was a time they closed their door to the country globally and said China wants to build. That's why they are not perturbed with what is happening in US. As US is giving them a lot of tariff, they are retaliating.
Let's be fair. The president is X-ray the policies of his administration. You think he would have been able to do that in these areas that you've mentioned, with all the honking and all the noise, and all the fumes? Don't you think he needs noise, a more serene environment?
Even where we are here, as serene this place, do we hear any honking or noise in this place? No, right? It can even come and lodge here. Truth be told, there's nowhere the president, are you telling me the whole country is under noise or chaos or anything? We have better and most best place in Nigeria to stay, right? You understand? Until they said the way you lay your bed, decide the way the money in use, the fund we could use there, right? If we could divert it either to education or something in Nigeria, right? Unless you are going in for a strategic touring to study their policy, what works over there, right? And we should not be you. You have you have your soldiers, right? You have some of the ministers in charge. Go let them do it. Give you a formal report. You study it, then you make decision on it, right? So you cannot be there. So the question is just like, we need to also showcase that we have something to offer in Nigeria. Until he's here, he cannot see what is there, right? We in the last discussion we had, okay, I was on a platform of discussing about the more than 20 solid mineral, more than 40 solid mineral we have in Nigeria, and in South Africa, yeah, they have less than 10 solid mineral in South Africa, and what they get is over $1 trillion, right? In Kenya here, what they have less than 10 solid mineral there. What they make in a year is around over 362 trillion. Nigeria, what are we getting? Just around 1 million in a solid mineral. So these are thinking outside the box. What can we do with enormous mineral resources that is deposited in each of the states in the country? Even in Kogi, we have some valid solid mineral resources there. And what is happening there? It's not being utilized because we have free money for dropping there. So these are things that needs to be looked through. The France you are talking about, somebody make France, right? Dubai we are talking about, somebody make Dubai. Because I can remember vividly in my sense serves me right, in the late 70s, right, when the Prince of Dubai came to meet Obasanjo then, saying that he should come and loan him money. Obasanjo said we can't dump money in desert. That's how bad Dubai was then. And around 1973, the Europeans, they came to Nigeria to come and loan money in Nigeria. So if some people can stand and say that we will make this country great again, give it to Trump. That's why we could see Trump will say American first. So we must value the life of citizens, right? And we must see that how can we utilize and maximize. Look at the early 70s now. Our coal and every other thing, we have these people coming from abroad to invest in Nigeria because they know we have solid mineral resources. Most those people, since those people left Nigeria, it's been handled by small and medium enterprise, just artisan that does not have the capacity to develop it. And the small resources we have, we are also using it to develop other countries. So these are things, I actually agree somehow with Peter Obi. We need to think outside the box. When you are there, and you can only see things better when you are around, right? So I can understand when the president is around, he faces a lot of meeting, people can queue at his door, he won't sleep until 4 a.m.
Absolutely.
Till the next day. So maybe going down, reducing the meeting. And I can tell you for free, because the president is there, some people will fly.
If it's reducing the meeting, so it's not a working visit.
It could be a relaxation time because reducing the meeting, definitely now, because it's also human, right? It's also human. It could also reduce it so that it could maintain its health. Remember, it's also aging. So he must also have some time to be able to recuperate. If the
president has health issues, don't you think Nigerians should be made aware? I mean,
I'm not saying that he has health issues. So that
no, he said if.
Okay.
If.
Okay.
What if? He said what if?
So it's number one citizen. And there's a position you get into, you no longer have any secrets. Once you are going, you allow Nigerians to know. These are the situation of things.
Why is it different? We have the King of England telling us about his health issues. We have we had rulers around the world, laying it bare. Is it our witchcraft that is preventing our leaders from laying bare?
I can tell there's witchcraft everywhere. Even the witchcraft in US is more stronger than Nigeria. So, but what I'm saying later, in that position, you are exposed. You tell people, this is my head start. Look at what is happening to Prince Charles in UK. Everybody knows, right? It does not matter. And that's not bring me back into the country. Like a Latin word that says, "Nema dot call not a bet." You can give what you don't have. A system you don't develop, you can benefit from it. Like what stops us from developing our medical system? I do mention, take reference to India. One of the best medical facilities is now in India. And now for you to try, it's more easier to travel to US than to travel to India now. Because so this is somebody standing up tall and said that this place, and someone also said that in the next 10 years, if China is not careful, India will override them because they are taking advantage of their population, which Nigeria also has that population as an advantage. So if we now decide that what we produce in Nigeria, we are no longer importing anything, we will be forced to consume what we produce in Nigeria.
Okay.
And as we are consuming it, it's going to increase the purchasing power of people, our GDP will rise, and in the long run, the country will be better off. And this is what the advantage, that is why at the early, I think late, around early 2000, while US was doing visa lottery, because they need more population over there. Canada did it because they need more population over there. That, and this we have freely. We can utilize it, maximize it, rather than allowing them to be killed by bandits and all other things. And so it just reduces us unnecessarily. Let's look inward and see what we can do for this country. Has a huge resources that can make it to compete favorably at the global space.
All right, then looking inwards, that's the call to action here. But let's see if we can re-establish contact with Prince Nixon Okpara so he could conclude his line of thoughts there and give us his concluding thoughts as well on the issues discussed so far. Good morning once again. Are you still with us, Prince Nixon?
Yes, I'm here now.
Oh, yes.
Sorry for that. I think that was network issue.
No problem, not a problem. Go ahead with your line of thoughts and then give us your concluding take.
Okay, so what I was trying to say there is that the president is not only relying on the military might, which we know that that alone cannot solve our insecurity problem at this time, considering the fact that the insecurity was commercialized already in Nigeria before he became the president. And when terrorism becomes a business, it goes beyond active or military might to deal with them. So you find out that there is a need to cut off the chain, both their financial supplies and the rest of it all. Also, you know that part of the strategy will require some collaboration, international collaborations, for that to be achieved. There are so many securities issues we can't discuss here, but all of us who are partially understand what security means can tell you that it goes beyond what everybody think it is. But the problem I have here are those who ought to know that are playing politics about insecurity. They are not doing us any good. They are not doing Nigerians any good. Most people also are the same kind of people who imported insecurity to us. And at the same time, they are now coming out to tell Nigerians we cannot trust them because we know that they do not plan good for us. The president is doing his best. He has his network, his communication system. He is a commander in chief. He can govern from any part of the world. He is doing what he is doing and at his best. And I believe there is results and there will be lights at the end of the tunnel. So people should be patient with the administration.
Okay.
And I hope that before the end of this year, we will see the results of his efforts.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Fanimo, let's have your concluding thoughts.
My concluding thought is that the president should return to Nigeria immediately.
All right.
We want to see him live. We want to read his face, his composure, to be sure that he has the political will to deal with insecurity in Nigeria.
All right then. Doctor?
We've said it. Let the president ensure that the country is better off, and also see that Nigeria also enjoy the dividend of democracy. They see him as a protege of Awolowo. That's why people so much like his appearance. But let him show us what Awolowo showed them there.
All right then. Well, let's move on to another conversation. This time around, we travel to Finland. Simon Ekpahaya's new lawyer, ahead of explosive trial in Finland, battles terrorism charges of unrest in Nigeria. Let's discuss this when we come back. I'll have the gentleman join us again.
Extraordinary. Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV, now streaming on SLTV channel 202. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We bring in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV, channel 202. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than...
Well, thanks for joining us again. Now, Biafra separatist Simon Ekpa has appointed a new lawyer, Kale Gumeris, ahead of his terrorism-related trial in Finland, scheduled for June 2025. Ekpa, who holds dual citizenship in Nigeria and Finland, is accused of spreading terrorist propaganda and inciting violence in southeastern Nigeria via social media in 2021. Now, he has been in custody since his arrest in November 2024, as the offense is not bailable, where Ekpa's previous lawyer retired, prompting a legal switch. Finnish authorities have set May 2025 as the deadline for prosecutors to file formal charges. Meanwhile, Nigeria continues to push for Ekpa's extradition and has designated him and 16 others as terrorism financiers, ordering the freezing of their bank accounts. Well, how much impact does this have for Nigeria? I would like to start off with Dr. Ganiu Luashala on this one. How much impact would this trial have on, Simon Ekpa and IPOB, that is, in Nigeria, and his own faction of IPOB in exile, his own faction of the exile arm of IPOB? How much impact will it have?
I think they were trying to extradite him back to Nigeria so that I can taste part of what Nnamdi can. So on a lighter note now, the man has been on that situation for, and it's I can't see how you can call yourself a patriotic Nigeria and you are destroying your mother's land, right? Because all lands are mother's land, not father's land, right? You are destroying it. You are in Finland now. The Finland authority has arrested him is to face the music, right? Mm-hmm. Right, and our judicial personnel, our government, they are relating with them that if they can even allow him to come to Nigeria so that they will resolve the issue. And I think he, as a person, he would prefer to be tried in Finland than to be tried in Nigeria, because he knows that the decision in Finland will be a bit speedy, and it might not also be biased, and it will not have political undertone, right? So in the long run, it will not cost, because as we speak now, I think he's a citizen in Finland.
Yes, he is.
Right, so he owns dual citizen. So they will treat him as a citizen in Finland, and they also have some kind of soft spot for their citizen. They won't give him a kind of unpalatable treatment, the kind that his counterpart is facing in Nigeria currently. So let's see how the trial go. Let's see how the trial go, and let's see since his lawyer has back. The question they should also ask: there will be a reason for his lawyer to have stepped down.
The first lawyer.
It's the first lawyer, because most of the time when he discovered, and the situation over there is not like in Nigeria. They have their rules of engagement. If they know that if I go through with these rules of engagement, I might likely lose my license. So let me step down on this case. Right. So the lawyer should also be questioned. What are the reasons for making you to step down? Is it on this platform of compromise, or the platform you discover that your client is not doing what is right? Right. I think once the case is already on the table, let's see how it unfolds. And also let's see if in the long run, the Finland authority will release him to the Nigeria authority, being that he is also a citizen in Finland, because he will tell them that being a citizen in Finland, you cannot release me to another jurisdiction. Every decision you need to make about me, you need to make it in this country.
Okay. All right then. So Prince Nixon Okwara, now, are you still with us? All right, great.
I'm here. I'm with you.
All right, great. Now, Nigeria, Nigeria has been trying to extradite Simon Ekpa, but that has not worked up until now. It might work tomorrow, but up until now, that has not worked. And some analysts have said, look, Finnish authorities might be reluctant to extradite Simon Ekpa to Nigeria because of Nigeria's human rights record and judicial independence or dependence, as the case may be. How valid are these facts, and how can it be rectified if truly Nigeria will succeed in extraditing Simon to Nigeria to come answer for questions here?
The truth is that the continuous detention of the Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is and some other cases is an international embarrassment that could create such a reason why Finland may not want to deport have their citizen and a Nigerian citizen, but whichever way that case goes, I think there are significant success that could have achieved, at least the stability in the Southeast over this period. And also it has reinforced everybody's understanding of what it means by the word being a global village. And because you cannot ferment either trouble from any part of the world and go free. So there are a lot of lessons to gain from these issues, and it is advised that people should sometimes look at it twice in whatever we do. The activities in the past, in as much as so many reasons where we see the agitation that is coming from the Southeast as something that a lot of people see as genuine agitation, but the manner it was carried out eventually started haunting the people you are agitating to protect. It became a case of concern to a lot of people in Nigeria. So I think Nigeria should look at already with what Finland is doing, that has been able to create a stronger ties and
all right then,
partnership with Nigeria.
Oh,
That's
great. Thank you very much. But now, your introduction says you are the chairman, Igbo stakeholders, and also member of 2023 presidential campaign of the APC. What have you and your organization done, the organization you represent, done in speaking for Nnamdi Kanu and the possible, fastening of the trial and his release, talking about a political solution to that problem?
As a matter of fact, I may not tell you all that we have done.
Yeah, you could just tell me a few, please.
Yes, when you talk about political solution, not every political solution should be laid bare, but we have done enough in our advocacy, and we have also leveraged on our relationship with the present government to plead so that he could be released. And I believe that our president, who is a listening president, is surely looking into it. And I know sooner or later, very soon, we will have a cause to smile to that effect. I always want to separate Nnamdi Kanu's case with Simon Ekpa's case, because when you look at it, they are not the same thing. Okay. And I don't think that Carlos is supposed to be in the cell till now, in the station now.
All right, very well said. Now, Prince Nixon, let me stay with you. Just a moment ago, you said that there's some kind of, that since Simon Ekpa was arrested, there's been some kind of stability in the Southeast. I would rather use the word quietude, because if you talk about stability, it clearly gives the expression that, look, there is some kind of peace in the Southeast, which is not correct. I said that in the light of the fact that, yes, we don't get to hear anymore about sit at home being enforced and people getting killed in the way of implementation or in the way of enforcement. But we also know that, look, the militarization of the Southeast is still in full force in terms of the number of military checkpoints. We also know that the headsmen are having a free reign now in the Southeast. Talk about, like, I keep going back to a Hiamufu community where 19 villages have been sacked. I also go to Ebonyi State where about 40 people were slaughtered in cold blood in the past 2 months while Simon Ekpa was in detention. So if you put all of these things together, does it create the impression that, look, it was the Simon Ekpa faction of IPOB that was causing the problem? I like the fact that you separated the cases of Nnamdi Kanu and Simon Ekpa. How much peace has returned to the Southeast since Simon Ekpa was arrested? Because if you ask me, and a lot more people will agree with me that, look, nothing has changed in the Southeast.
As a matter of fact, the level of insecurity we have in the Southeast is not on one direction. We had the side of those who claim to be ECN, or who claim to be taking orders from Simon Ekpa, or those who claim to be defending the land. A lot of things came up, both those with genuine agitation and those who are criminal elements hiding under the agitations to do a lot of things. But that does not rule out the fact that there are some foreigners who have also penetrated the Southeast and also causing some issues. Now, there are things we must always identify sometimes. When it comes to an internal aggressions or something like some level of insecurity, we should hold the governors accountable. Meanwhile, Ihamufu is in Enugu State, and the last time I checked, that is not an APC state, it's a PDP state. What I'm trying to say here that the people should start holding our governors accountable when it comes to insecurity. There was a point in time it happened in some states, in Imo states and all that, like Professor Soludo came out and decisively fought the internal insecurity they have there. And we can see that it's coming down in Anambra State. We saw Senator Hope Uzodinma decisively dealt with the areas in Imo State, and that is where they have the peace now in Imo State, to the extent that their camp where there was a no-go area today, people are returning back to their homes. So sometimes not everything will apportion blame to the federal government. The state apparatus and the security apparatus have their own roles to play when it comes to their state's internal insecurity. But relatively, if I compare with what we had previously, like you rightly said, the banks open on Mondays and so many things are coming back to normalcy. I will tell you that it's relatively peaceful in the Southeast today. Though we cannot totally apportion that completely to Simon Ekpa, like I rightly said, but we know that significantly he had an influence that when he speaks, it happens. Is enough evidence to say that at least there's a little success achieved.
Prince Nixon. Now let's come back to the studio. Then in all of this, do you think that there's a possibility that Simon Ekpa will be extradited to Nigeria? I mean, it was the chief of defense staff was very upbeat when it happened. That look, he said a process had been put in place, to bring him back. Factor in that, look, Simon Ekpa is Finnish by naturalization, and unfortunately, there is no extradition treaty between Nigeria and Finland. And if they go through the EU route, they will get stuck because, look, the foreign policy of sovereign nations take precedence when it gets to the table of the EU. So in all of this, is there a possibility? Do you think that Simon Ekpa will be brought back home to Nigeria?
The possibility is near zero because of what you have just stated. No protocol to rely on for its extradition. And sometimes some of these political players and security chiefs, they talk from emotional point of view. Yes, the CDS may want him extradited, but then what are the protocols? Are they available? Was there any relationship between Finland and Nigeria to the extent of asking for extradition and all that? And as we speak, there is none. So there's no way. It's almost impossible. But he can go ahead and face his trial in Finland. And to the extent of changing his lawyer, it is his right to decide on who pleads his cause, because this thing carries minimum of life sentence, terrorism. And so his life is at stake. He can only rely on somebody he is sure that can plead his cause in the process of trial. And if there is anything that would make him feel uncomfortable while the trial is going on, just because of the fact that the lawyer representing him is not sure of that lawyer, then he has to change.
With respect to his changing his lawyer, if I'm right on this, I think the information is out there. I don't know how the Finnish system operates. The information that I got is that the lawyer retired from service. Not that he dropped the case. That he retired from service.
Well,
I just hope I'm correct, but that's what I saw. Like I said, I don't understand
let's take it as the truth.
Okay.
I'm worried that do lawyers retire?
But that's the information I got.
Maybe,
so I'm just wondering.
Maybe in their own jurisdiction, lawyers retire. And what that tells me is maybe it is the public prosecutor
that dropped the case.
That is,
okay.
You know, that retired.
All right then.
And then some other lawyers. But the whole mix is not clear to us. It's difficult, except we understand what goes on in Finland.
All right then. Would have loved to throw one more question, but we're out of time.
So I just want to clear that there is actually an extradition policy between Nigeria and Finland, right? But it's not readily available, right? Because that if there is none, there will not have been process of trying to bring him back. But the question is that will Finland be ready to release him, being that he is their citizen?
And he also belongs to a political
Doctor, when you
party.
say it's not readily available, I don't understand.
It's not, yes.
It has not been ratified by the National Assembly.
It's not something you can unpick on it, right? It's not something you can avail. No, there's an extradition policy between them, and they also bilateral.
No, is there a policy or a treaty?
No, it's not a treaty. They don't call it a treaty. There's a bilateral. We call it bilateral treaty, bilateral agreement between them.
Are you ready to connect with distinguished Nigerians around the world? The Diaspora Perspective is here to share the views of Nigerians in the
Right, he has worked with law firm, so he knows these intricacies.
In and out of it.
Yeah, and he's also a person that they've not confirmed. He said he has an MSc in law, and they have not confirmed me that it's true or not, because they wrote to the school. The school said they didn't have him.
All right.
So he has a lot of things surrounding him.
We can go on with this conversation, but our time is up on the program. But big thanks to you, Dr. Gani Oluwashola. Thank you very much for coming. Managing Partner, KJB Professional Services. Thank you for your time.
Thank you
on
for
the program.
having me.
A big thanks also to Prince Nixon Okwara, who is a public affairs analyst, chairman, Igbo stakeholders, and also, yes, thank you very much for your time on the program.
Thank you, Chukwuma and Moses, for your professionalism.
And also, thank you very much once again. And also, big thanks to Mr. Dele Fanimo, who is a seasoned reporter, VOP analyst. Thank you once again for being with us.
Always my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Newspaper review comes up at 9. Join us again. I am Moses Humphrey. I'll see you then.
And I'm Chukwuma Okoro. Bye for now.